Hello and welcome to the Alchemist Inkwell.
This is your spiritual podcast for grounded people.
I'm Emily.
And I'm KristaLyn, and I'm going to go off camera for just a second. Okay, there we go. I'm good. Hi, guys. So, Emily and I, if this is your first time joining us, I have a feeling this episode might reach some new people because it's going to talk about the eclipse. We're going to take all the fear out of the astrology for you on this one. Emily and I work really well with areas of Emily's primary expertise, and by primary I just mean more than mine. Works really well with psychic activations, with meditations, with spirit guides, and with just being a killer amazing psychic medium in general. I have a baseline for those things as well, but I also bring in a lot of astrology, folk magic, traditional magical stuff, and history stuff. For channeled history, does that as well. So this is us. If you want to add to that, hi, new intro.
I love the struggle that's occurring right now. Actually, this is
you would think I'd be doing better. I'm not. I'm in the struggle bus of astrology this year, and I'm doing so well at being on the struggle bus of astrology this year, leaning into that archetype heavily.
So well.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. I think you did great so far. Further introduction. Both of us write books. Both of us talk about high vibe fiction.
Is that.
We also both travel and talk a lot about spiritual travel as well, and how to travel as a spiritual person. And if you're traveling and want to go to spiritual places and those types of things, we talk about that. So we do a lot of international worldly stuff together and talk through those things. Plus, on my side, channeled history, lots of stuff with realms and beings from other realms, deity work, spirit guides, psychic stuff. Also, I don't want Krista to sell themselves short. They're fucking badass astrologer, astrological magician. They do a lot of wonderful things with folk magic, a lot of beautiful things with source text that I could never even imagine because I'm not going to read that, but I love that Krista does. Yeah, and we do primarily grounded, ethical, spiritual exploration. That's what we do. And if you're like, what does that mean? It means stuff that's not gatekeepy, stuff that actually focuses on things that we have to deal with as existence as a person. We're very anti AI and anti-spiritual psychosis, and pretty outspoken in that space. If you guys are here forever and you're like, yeah, we know. We love that you know. Thank you. Thank you for listening to this extra long introduction. Yeah. So anyway, welcome. We're going to talk about the eclipse and how it's not actually scary. We're going to talk about eclipse season overall. But we're going to focus on the lunar eclipse. Yeah.
Yes, this is the lunar eclipse in Pisces. Yep.
The lunar eclipse is always the first one. Why do I always get caught up?
It's actually not. So you were correct.
Always,
yeah. Yeah. Lunations do things.
Yeah, but it is the one that is occurring. I know this.
Yeah,
but
it is the first one this time.
Every time I go to say it, it's like,
Yeah, we had that cool little example of everybody was calling it the black moon, or I think it was the black moon, right? The last new moon in Virgo, everybody was calling it black moon, which is basically like a blue moon. We're just bruising up the sky here, basically. But a black moon is when you have more than what the typical amount of new moons would be in a single season. So there are 3 months in a season, right? So you'd expect to have about 3 new moons there. However, we had a 4th. So black moon. Black because it's a new moon. You can't see the moon. The sky's black. So the reason for that is because it was at the 0 degree of Virgo. It was not an eclipse. It was not close enough to the lunar nodes to be occluded by the earth and the moon. Therefore, we're going to have a solar eclipse in Virgo that's not just a regular new moon at the end of the month. Thus, eclipse season begins now with this full moon, total lunar eclipse in Pisces, which will not be visible in the northern hemisphere.
No, we won't be able to see it. Plus, it also occurs during the daytime for us anyway.
Well, and that's one of the ways you can eyeball it on a chart. Can you see it? Well, is the moon up? And if the answer is no, then no.
Yeah, so we won't be able to see it. However, that doesn't mean it's not going to affect us.
Yes.
It is going to affect us. I will say this every time. I say this every time we talk about eclipses. We've been doing this podcast for 4 years now. 5 years almost.
Oh, yeah.
5 years in November, I think. Or December.
It was a November. It was a November thing.
Yeah, it was because it was 2021. Yeah. Look at us go. 5 years in November. So a long time. And I've said this with every eclipse season. I'm going to say it again. It is pure magic that the sun and the moon have the same relative magnitude and can eclipse each other. There is no, we take that for granted. There is no scientific reason why the moon happens to be just that perfect size to eclipse the sun. That is a magic thing. 100%. Relative magnitude basically means that for our perspective, the moon is big enough to cover the sun exactly. We get to have a perfect lunation. of that like moment of totality with the sun. We only get that because the moon happens to be the right size, and genuinely happens to be, which if that is not proof that magic is real, astrology is real, all these things are real, I don't know what it is. Like, it's a marvel. It's so cool. And we get to experience that. That is amazing. That is so amazing.
Yes, you spoke my heart just there. And for everybody who is watching the video of that, I was giving a visual representation of what Em was so beautifully describing. So basically, the sun's massive, right? The sun's huge, but it's super far away. The moon is smaller by a lot, but it's super close. And therefore, apparent magnitude is what it apparently looks like from our perspective. So like in this example, my squishy here is going to play the sun, and my little fidget toy here is going to play the moon, and you, the viewer, are Earth. And during a solar eclipse, you have the sun way back here, and you have the moon, again, smaller than the sun. However, the moon is closer to Earth. And so you have this perfect distance from the Earth to the moon and to the sun, that from the way they look to us, they can block each other out.
That takes, like, I hope
too much of a coincidence.
How magical that is. Like, the amount of perfection that needs to occur for that to be a thing is so wild.
It's not so permanent. Wild. It's not permanent. We're living in the time of history, which is a long period, granted, but we're living in the time of history where it is possible and relevant. Yeah. The moon actually does get further and further away from Earth by like centimeters, I think, every year. Centimeters, maybe inches. I don't know. It's a bit. It moves a bit away. Like it's swinging around, and eventually it's going to swing further and further, and it's just going to peace out, and we're going to have big problems then. But that's a long time away. You don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
So
you will not be in this life. You might be here, but that'll be many lives away.
Yeah. So don't worry about it. You get to exist fully in the time and place and space where we get to experience eclipses.
Yeah.
And maybe we should talk about, like, generally, let's talk about what an eclipse is. An eclipse, we talked about it astronomically, because astronomy is very important to astrology. We respect all the sciences.
Yep. They hang out together. They hold.
They do. They came from each other. So it's really important. I'm reading up on the history of this stuff a lot, and it's been fascinating. I'm going to be writing a fiction book that explains it as well. So enjoy that. But basically, an eclipse is a time of big change. I know there was a Vedic astrologer or Jyotish astrologer, which is the astrology that developed more in India, but excellent point across the board. They said that the eclipses are the time where God, creator of all things, cross pantheon, just the creator of the mind with a capital M, if that helps, the universe closes their eyes. It's like,
that's how it feels.
Yeah. And so anything in that moment can change. When mind with a capital M closes their eyes, stuff can change. And so in that cosmic blink, we see everything. The astrological grimoire called Picatrix says that everything in the composite world is subject to change at this time. The composite world is literally everything under the moon that is made up of all the elements that, in the theory of the book, comes down through all the spheres of the planets to make basically elements. So if you think about like your periodic table, think about correspondences in magic. You get the composite world. It's made up of, like, a rose is thorns that are of Mars. It's a stem that is of Saturn. It's an aroma that is of Venus or Jupiter and is beautiful, which is like Venus. And so it's all of those composite things coming together to make a rose. You, as a human being, are a composite of many things. Ta-da!
Big ding.
Yeah.
Look at that.
You should feel so special.
Validation.
Yeah.
No, eclipses can go one of two ways. In the kind of pop culture moment that we're in, people either absolutely catastrophize about them in like such an extensive way. It is horrible. This is a bad thing. Get ready.
In a damaging way.
Genuinely scary scare tactics. Just
people
to get views
have
type of
taken
way.
Their own lives and the lives of their family over what some astrologer on social media said about eclipses. I really need to emphasize that point. Sorry to interrupt you, Em.
No. It's 100% valid because that is it. We will never catastrophize what is going on in the sky or in the energy. Now, there's sometimes that the energy is shit, and we will tell you that it's bad, but we're not going to be like, it is terrible and awful, and you should run for the hills, and it's going to destroy your whole life. Like, that's not going to happen. Because that's not how energy works. It's just not.
Well, and to be fair, right? Sometimes in history, bad things do happen. Sometimes in history, horrible cataclysms do happen. In those moments, we'll admit, like, this is something that you want to keep an eye on? Because what good does it do if we say, tuck your tail between your legs? Because that's not going to help anybody. So even if we saw something that was like, this is a big moment in history, which there are some things going on that are big moments in history. They are moments of change, and people are going to individually experience them differently depending on the conditions under which they were born, the locations where they were born, the conditions their life has given them from that moment on. Individual astrology plays such a huge role in how you uniquely will experience an event. So here, where we are trying to talk to a lot of people at once, we're going to give you the most practical thing that we can.
I think about this a lot. A while ago, this was, I don't know, a couple of years ago now, if not more. I think it was on TikTok. There was a video of someone like showing a diary that she had found at a thrift store from someone from the 90s, right? Like a diary there. And so she was just looking at like different entries, and it was just a girl, just a normal girl. I think she was 18 or 19 years old, and just a normal diary about normal girl stuff, that was happening. And then she gets to one entry and it was like, today they stormed the beaches in Normandy and like blah, 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 blah. And it's a big deal. We're seeing it all in the newspapers and whatever. And tonight I'm going to go have dinner and with Margaret, and we're going to go to the rocks. Like it just, because for her, there wasn't a lot of immediate effect with this. For history, that was a big freaking deal. And I think about that so often because it's just such a perfect example of exactly what you're talking about. Of like, humans live even as other humans are living. And like, that's just how that is always going to work. And like, we think about that and like, we get news and things so quickly, so it wouldn't have been the same emotional experience, but we don't really know, right? Like, we don't know the emotional experience that would have had or whatever. But anyway, all that's to say, like, us, if we were to be like, it's gonna be the horrible day, like everybody hide, when it's affecting not everybody, like that's not fair or aligned either. But anyway, with eclipses, people will catastrophize that so extremely, you will see it. Or they're going to be like, do more magic, do all of this stuff. This is how you use this eclipse. Now, don't get me wrong. If you are feeling aligned, if you are being drawn, if you are being told by your guides, like, do this type of magic on eclipse, do what is the best for you. Like, do what feels the most aligned for you. We fully and wholeheartedly support you in whatever the heck that is. If you want our recommendation, maybe don't. Maybe don't do all this magic work on the eclipses. So like with the lunar eclipse, technically that's a full moon. Usually we would be telling you what to shed, what to release, what to let go of with this full moon. With this full moon lunar eclipse, we just let the universe move some pieces for us. This is a lesson in acceptance. It's a lesson in being present. It's a lesson in like understanding what alignment can change and perspective shifts that can come up. And holding that space of, even if it's just that day, if you want to do more magic in the middle of eclipse season, by all means, you do you. But even if it's just that day, it is our personal recommendation of just being receptive instead of actually doing magic of whatever. It's kind of, I described this on previous episodes talking about eclipses as well, but it's like manifesting inside a tornado where you're like, I'm in a tornado, I request a mailbox to come flying at me, and all of a sudden you get a cow instead because you're just like, the universe is, thing flying at you, I'll throw a thing at you, right? Because you're inside of a tornado and like you can't really control that in the same way. It feels like that. And with the shedding of the full moon, it's going to basically, if you were trying to be like, I'm shedding this thing, the universe would be like, all right, bet. Like, let's shed that thing. Let's shed it in a million different ways. Let's shed it in ways you didn't anticipate. Let's also shed this thing over here, and it can really amplify and just like not work in the way you want to. And so it's much better for eclipses to just experience the energy and be really receptive and open to it, as opposed to trying to direct it. Like, give the reins to the universe, work on trust. I know it's hard. And let yourself experience what comes up. Yeah.
Yeah. And just know that, there are some rules of thumb that come along with eclipses, but you don't have to, like, don't force it. Yeah. Don't force it on eclipses. Don't get into comparison issues where it's like, well, this person, they typically call themselves sorcerers if they're going to mess with eclipses. It's something I found in being a part of the community. This magician of some sort is working with the eclipse energy and harnessing the chaos and whatever. And it's like, that's nice for them. If it's something they're trained in, if it's something they feel called to, that's nice for them. I will tell you, like, just as we have two completely individual people here who share some traits that we can do, like, are we both psychic and mediums? Yes. Do we both have an awareness of astrology and all this other stuff? Yes. Is the one I'm going to defer to when you want to talk about channeled history and guides and spiritual activations and all the things that I know are M zones of genius? Yes. And I'm going to be cool with that. I'm not going to force it, right? So the same thing goes for everybody you see on social media. You're going to do your thing, and doing your thing, this is what my guides yelled at me for like half a year ago, was just mind your own business. Not to be rude, but to say, focus on the stuff you're good at, cultivate that, because that's going to be necessary too. If you're taking someone else's perspective, the world is missing a perspective because yours isn't there. So don't worry about forcing it, especially when it comes to eclipse season and magic. Next episode, we're going to talk about some stuff to do in eclipse season to keep yourself busy and your skills sharp.
As you be flowing. Yeah, and with this particular eclipse season, so I've been looking at it kind of significantly over the last couple days, because with eclipses, I try very hard not to look at their very specific energy until we're at least in their sphere of influence. Like until we're at least just a couple days out, a week out, like I try very hard not to dive into it, because I do think it can change so quickly with eclipses and the way that they're going to show up and the way they're going to flow. What I can say, and we are recording this about 4 days in advance of what you're hearing it. But what I can say, and the eclipse is on Sunday the 7th.
Yes.
So just so you guys know, we haven't actually set the date, I don't think yet. It's on Sunday the 7th. That's the eclipse day. So we recommend not doing magic on Sunday. Just be. However, the way that this eclipse is going to roll out, I think it is, when I look at it, it's actually a lot of perspective shifting. And I think we're going to see a lot of like very profound self-realization and self-actualization and like understanding of internal self stuff. It's like not shadow work necessarily is the way I'd say it, but it's like, hey, you remember how you thought you were always like this? No, you're not. You're like this. And it's like, okay, didn't realize that, but you're right. Like, I guess I am like that. That's what we're going to get for especially like the first 2 weeks of eclipse season is very much, and that's based off of that like lunar eclipse of the big red moon, if it were red, if it was at nighttime. But that is very much the energy that we're going to get from that, is a lot of like realization of self, understanding of self, pulling back curtains you didn't realize you had up, which is powerful. It's really, really powerful. We also might realize things about the people around us as well, though. And so that is the one, like, not caution, but just like, hey, so your perspective on your friends or people that you know or whatever, your boss, you might have new realizations and be like, oh, well, now my perspective is shifted on that. And like, how am I going to deal with these new situations? Yeah, I also anticipate a lot of, I'm not going to sit here and be like, everyone's going to get laid off. I think it's a lot of job upheaval and shifting though, where it's like lots of people getting new jobs and lots of people leaving old jobs and lots of people shifting there. I don't think it's just layoffs. I don't want you to be like, cool, a bunch of people can be laid off and like not be unemployed, maybe, but I feel like it's more shifting. Like it's more of a shift in personal career stuff. And the way that it's going to show up. If you're currently looking for a job, that could be optimistic as heck. You know, like that it could be really, really good. And a lot of this stuff is optimistic. I actually, as chaotic and as much as eclipse season has absolutely fucked my life over more than one time, I always look forward to it. And this year, it's actually no exception. Especially like, or not year, but this round. This is our second round this year. But this round of eclipsing is definitely something that I'm actually like, you know what? It feels magical. It feels fun. Like, bring it on. I'm going to do some stuff and stuff's going to happen and we're going to roll with it, and that's okay. And I think that's, especially the first 2 weeks are more personal. The second 2 weeks are more societal. And that's the more personal stuff happening first this time. Is like, okay, sure, clear out my pores first and then we'll go talk to the, you know, how society is going to be restructured. Yeah. And I'm fine with that. I'm fine.
Yep.
Look at that. I got another ding. For those of you who are like, what the heck is a dings about? Because we don't always explain that. If our computers go off, our phone goes off, whatever, we always take that as a validation. It's Krista's validation technically. I don't typically take it as my own when I'm not with Krista, but when I'm with Krista, I'm like, ha ha. Dings be happening.
One of my guides likes to mess with technology, and it's really funny. But yeah, I agree with you on so many levels. I can validate it with astrology and with my own kind of insight into it. The way that the thought that came to me as you were talking is like, we have no illusions of control anymore. Like that's
control.
The going with the flow part is we have detached from the need to be attached because so much is out of our control that we're like, you know what? Take it. Let's see what happens. And I think that's actually wise. I think there's a wisdom in that. Do you mind if I go into some of the astrology around this? For everybody who's wondering, I will do like showing you the chart and going through all the different aspects and blah, blah, blah. Like the astrology chaotic cork board of conspiracy that it's not conspiracy, but it's one of those, that meme, if you know what I'm talking about. I'll do that on YouTube later, and it will be out later this. Yeah, that guy is doing an incredible job of emulating the meme. Fantastic. Take your screenshots, people.
Impersonations.
Come on trips with us and take pictures, because you'll find these in your pictures. It's phenomenal. It's better than mine. I just end up looking peeved. But
I literally look like, I think someone could make a tarot deck at this point of just my weird as shit expressions.
Oh man. Oh, like, watch out. I'm going to make one of these days for like your birthday or something. Like bibliomancy for the pictures. Okay. Anyway, getting into some of the astrology, of course, this eclipse is occurring in Pisces, which means the moon is in Pisces. And the ruler of Pisces, traditionally and in my heart forever, is Jupiter. Jupiter is in Cancer currently, which means that Jupiter and the moon are in each other's signs, and they are trining each other because they're both in a water sign. This is good. And the moon, in its next aspect that it will make after it opposes the sun, it will approach the trine with Jupiter. The next application of the moon is something we always look at to be like, well, what happens? Where's it going? And so in ancient Mesopotamian astrology, this eclipse, which by the way is a lunar eclipse, is more likely to affect the body of a nation, which would be its people, in a more world astrology mundane sense. This eclipse is kind of a don't really worry about it. Jupiter's intervened. Stuff is happening in a good way. This eclipse is going to, according to the Mesopotamian techniques, would be very mild. And so that's something that we can think about and observe in this case. Is it mild? The other thing we have to think about is that when we get into the Greco-Roman Hellenistic era, Claudius Ptolemy, the person, got into writing about astrology for a bit. And
I'm sorry, Claudius Ptolemy,
the person. In case you had any illusions that he might be somebody else or something else, the person, Ptolemy, came up with this defense of astrology as a natural science, and especially focused on world astrology and mundane astrology, particularly looking at eclipses and their timings. You will hear me say this for every eclipse episode. It's fascinating to me, and I've seen it kind of work in a lot of other situations. The reason I say kind of is because you have to wait a really long time to find out if it works fully. But for lunar eclipses, their effects last for a period of months derived from the amount of hours that the eclipse lasted on the day it happened. However, the effects of the eclipse do not always begin the day of the actual eclipse itself. You can have up to a year before those eclipse effects begin.
Isn't that fun? So more chaos.
Isn't that great? Yeah.
More chaos. Isn't that fun?
So
we
like
all need that.
The day itself has this thing going for it, right? Like there is an eclipse happening. It is a transit that will affect people's charts. 15 degrees Pisces, I believe is the exact, 15 degrees of Pisces. So check that for yourself and see what the transit does, again, with curiosity. But know that in our chart, in the northern hemisphere, and especially in the United States, this is happening sort of in the middle to the later part of the day with the moon below the horizon. We can't even do timing with that. It needs to be in the upper part of the chart for us to derive timing from that, because it has to be something that we see. It has to be relevant to us. So for our location here, it's not that relevant. So we're not as worried about that either. The transit may be the thing we notice the most in that argument, right? However, if you are listening from the Southern Hemisphere, particularly Western Australia, the timing here actually, because it's happening depending on, your time zone there, you have to look at where it is. If I were to do it for Australia based on this chart, what I did was it's in the second third of the upper hemisphere of the chart. And so that means it's going to happen in the second third of the year from the eclipse date itself, right? So we have to wait a couple months, like 4 to 8 months before it even begins. And then it's going to take about a month and a half for the effects to happen. And within that period of time, and also around it, other factors will make its effects pop up as well. It has intensifications and abatements. So it's really fascinating to be able to say the sky's doing this thing this day. But just the way your birth chart leads to things that show up at various points in your life, so does the eclipse. Fun stuff, right?
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah. Until 4 to 8 months, you're like, what is happening? Just kidding.
Just enough time for you to forget that you can blame the eclipse and be like, there are no transits that explain this.
Yeah.
It's the eclipse.
Did it. It's there.
Yeah.
Oh, you're sad. Blame the
moon. Almost always. The poor moon.
Yeah. That being said, like, you will still feel it. Like, again, your personal transits, whatever, but also just collective energy. The people around you affect your energy. It's the same in a lot of ways with the collective energy there, too. So, Yeah, that being said, like I said before, this eclipse season, vibes.
And it's Pisces, right? Like if we break it down, what do we know about Pisces and keywords? Pisces is very subconscious, subliminal, that kind of stuff. Letting go of attachment, just being in the goop.
Yeah. Is a guppy. Be a guppy.
Be a guppy.
Ted Lasso style. Be a goldfish.
Yes, I love Ted Lasso. There was this line from Ted Lasso where they were talking to a reporter, and the reporter was like, I was talking to the CEO over the sun. And Ted Lasso was like, you talk to God? It's one of my favorite lines.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good. But anyway, yeah, be a goldfish. Let yourself fish through it. We'll talk more about the solar eclipse as we get closer to that. But I want to talk about our live show, the Alchemist Inkwell. So this is our last recorded episode before we premiere live. Don't get us wrong. We're going to still do this show every week. Don't worry. We have a still recorded podcast style show, but we're also going to do literally a live stream, like morning show vibes thing every Friday, or most Fridays. Maybe we won't do it every Friday, but we'll do it a lot of Fridays. You can see it on Instagram or YouTube. So if you're on either one, you can find us there and see it live there. You can interact with us, ask us questions. We're calling it the Alchemist Ink Spill because we're also going to be talking a lot more about like the spiritual pop culture moments that are happening and like things that are currently going on social media and spiritual community. If there is tea, we'll share tea, you know, drama, those types of things. Well, also it's just gonna be fun. It's just gonna be vibes. If you guys have questions, we'll answer those questions. We're gonna go on a lot of our soapboxes, do a lot of story times, be on our rants. We love doing those things. We don't always get to do that on the podcast as much because the topics come to us and we just then talk about them.
Yeah.
So this gives us space to really interact with you guys. And I, for one, am super freaking excited because we thrive in a live environment. Let me tell you, if you've not seen us live on a trip or on like a lives together or in a conference or you name it, if you've not seen us live, it is, I'm not fluffing my feathers here. It's just an experience.
It's fun.
Yeah, we really vibe off of each other in really, really great ways, and I'm really excited to just be able to bring more of our audience into that moment, you know? It's gonna be so much fun.
Reminds me of that Hani, our guide in Egypt, was like, I need you to meet this guy who worked at the one incense store. I was obsessed with the incense store. And this guy had really good, some mystic or intuitive sense. And Hani brought us over, and the guy was like, you glow together, or something like that. Yeah, I know.
Way to ding about it. Ding about it.
That's a lot for one episode, man. Right. We're doing great.
I know, I keep yawning too. We must be processing through some big energy. If you are watching the video and you're seeing me yawn like ridiculously, I'm not tired.
It's because I'm boring.
Jesus Christ, no, it is not because Krista's boring. I'm not tired. I'm just processing whatever energy we're like bringing up and releasing. It's either yawning or sneezing, and I'll tell you what, I prefer the yawning if that's our choice.
Yeah, and but honestly, you guys... I knew that Em didn't think I was boring. It's fine. I just thought it'd be funny. Hopefully it was. You'll have to let me know in the comments. Was it funny?
Anyway, Incense Man.
Incense Man, yeah. He, among other people who have like done interviews with us and whatever, are like, there's a glow or something in her eyes, or I don't remember what it was. And I was like,
do something in her eyes. Yeah,
we've heard that before. This is great.
It's interesting. The next time we go back to Egypt too, Hani wanted to get us in there to talk to him for longer because he's apparently very online.
I'm very excited about that idea.
But yeah, so I actually, I also talked about the Incense Man this week. I'm trying to remember when, and it's weird because I haven't talked about him since we got back. So that's obviously something that's coming up.
Yeah. Well, and to this point, right? All
synchronicities have meaning. All synchronicities mean something.
It reminds me, actually, pay attention. Is my phone going to go off? Pay attention to your dreams this week. Pisces is a sign associated with dreams, and it is a lunar eclipse. So especially with like Jupiter being involved, and there's some, Jupiter's in a separating but tight square with Mars. There's so much going on in the sky. So much. But this one moment, when you isolate it, has some neat stuff going on. And so you might get clarity again to what you were saying about like job stuff falling away and things. It might be because you were too focused on something in that job that's holding you back. And so this is your team being like, hey, we have to get uncomfortable for a second because you're about to level up, or because you're about to do something really important, or you need to be in a position where this opportunity is going to be and it's not there. And so just know, like, I like to think about eclipses as we, the actors of Earth, are taking to the backstage while the next scene is being set. We don't know what our props are going to be yet. We don't know what the scenery is going to look like, but we trust the process so that when the curtain goes up again and we are ready to begin again, we will see what we can work with. It's a bit improv, but it works.
Two things. I was holding up my fingers, not like this, like you do it, which is great. But I'm saying it now.
That's so I can keep my mouth shut so I don't interrupt.
It's great. I know. Then I know you have like a speaking cue. It's fabulous. Two things. One, on the dream thing. Yes, absolutely. 100% pay attention to your dreams. I'm surprised I haven't mentioned that sooner because I've been talking about that in my own communities and now like totally didn't mention it. But dream stuff, for sure. Pay attention to your dreams. We're also doing a lot of astral stuff in our dreams, like a lot. So if you're getting fragments of things where you're like, I was doing something, but I don't remember having a dream about it, but you know you're doing something, that's astral stuff. So astral stuff is also popping off. So pay attention to that as well. Second thing, circling to the live shows again, which something you said reminded me of it, and I can't remember what reminded me of it, but I can remember that I wanted to say something about it. So there's that. If there is stuff in the live shows, if you are on a side of TikTok we're not on or something, and you're like, hey, can you guys talk about this thing in the live show or whatever, like we saw this big spiritual drama happen, or this person is saying this or predicting August 24th for something certain to happen, can you guys talk on that? We would love to do that. So you can either bring that to the live show directly, or if you want to comment underneath this video on YouTube or on Spotify or whatever you're listening it on, if it allows for comments, and be like, hey, this thing, there's this whatever. If you want to do that on our weekly podcast episodes, we will look at that stuff for the live shows to talk about genuinely. So I wanted to make sure that we threw that out there. If that's something that, if you're, because you might be on a different side of the TikToks from us. We curate our stuff pretty clearly to like not have a ton of this stuff in there. So there might be stuff that we're missing. So by all means, please let us know. The other thing I wanted to throw out there in relation to this as well is we want to have a lot more guests on the show going forward, because you guys love when we highlight people. We love uplifting the community so much. So if you know of someone you think would be awesome for us to interview, please shoot us an email about it or comment on something about it. We would love to do that. If you're like, it would be so great to hear you guys talk to this person or that person, or like this person doesn't necessarily do spiritual stuff, but they do this thing that you guys would be aligned with, or an author or whatever, like please let us know, because that is something that we are also emphasizing in the coming months, both on the recorded podcast version and also on the live show if someone wants to hang out with us there, which would be a whole different experience and vibe, but they can do that. But we would love to get some, pings from you guys as far as if you know people that you think would be a really great fit. We would love to hear that as well. Yeah. I
mean, another Piscean theme, a rising tide raises all ships.
Yeah,
and so we would love to be that tide for other people. And, it's always a mutually beneficial thing.
I just got so hungry. Sorry, totally changed the topic.
It's okay. There's a lot of energy moving right now.
Out of nowhere. Goodness. What do I want to eat? I'm very threatened.
Where is the moon right now?
I'm just like, oh my gosh, snacks.
It's not in Taurus. It's in Sagittarius.
In all fairness, I have not eaten breakfast yet, so that's also probably part
That'll
of it.
do it.
Usually I can like roll with that though, and I don't get super hungry until like, later, like noon anyway. So it's kind of weird that I'm like getting really hungry right now.
It's not my life. I will always make sure, if you ever travel with us, I will make sure you've eaten.
Yeah. Yes. It's actually pretty funny. We're talking about travel a lot because we were about to leave on our next trip.
Yeah, we're stoked.
Just so you guys know, that's part of what's happening is we're about to go to Thailand and Japan. Thailand with the group, Japan just together.
We'll probably run into each other before we plan to run into each other, because we did that last time where we went our separate ways after the trip and then found each other in an entirely different city the next day when we ran into each other in Kyoto. It's like, all right.
Like, oh, hey, you're here too. In the middle of a huge shopping center. And that's not the only time that's happened either.
No.
That happened in Japan and that happened in Rome.
Yeah.
Around the Colosseum, which if you know around the Colosseum, there's 7 billion people walking around.
It wasn't a normal part of the Colosseum either. It was like on the backside.
Yeah, we just are cool like that, but we're getting ready for travel. But with the food on travel, Krista's always like, everyone, do you have a snack? Whatever. And then I'll be like, hey, Krista, do you want this protein bar? Like, you need to eat something. Right.
By the way, I'm a hypocrite.
No, it's great. It's not a hypocrite thing. It's just funny because you're caring so much about everybody else. You also need calories, actually, though. Like, you should eat something.
We're going to have a Snickers commercial.
Right. If you guys are also, I will say, adventure is a big theme. And I know that sounds kind of weird because you're like, so much is going on in the world. Do I just stay home? And honestly, when I look at this next year, I'm like, no, like go play, like adventure, even if it's just like road trips or whatever, like adventure and play and inspiration and excitement. They're like massive themes right now. Such big themes, and they're so necessary for us. And I think this eclipse is only just going to exemplify that even more. And so if you are wanting to travel with us, we do have 2 trips open. We do have Peru open currently, which we have a couple spots left on, and then we also have Greece. And Greece is going to be so obscenely magical. Oh my goodness. We're going to go to Delphi. We're going to swim in thermal waters of Santorini. It's going to be
We're going to be with Malcolm.
Yeah, we're going to make sure that you know which Greek deity wants to work with you for that trip. That is one thing we always do for that trip, is be like, hey, this deity wants to work with you. We will let you know, like, personally, like, who your deity is, basically, beforehand, and who you should lean in on talking to. And it's just had such magical results. So if you want to do that, we do have some spots there also.
And to expand on that, you were talking about like justifying being able to travel and should I stay home. Honestly, one of the things I love about the groups that end up coming on our trips, and this includes you if you feel called to come with us, we end up being the best embodiment of typically Americans on trips. We are not obnoxious. We are ambassadors of like the we didn't vote for him crowd, basically.
Sorry, I just like leaned out of frame.
Am I wrong?
Face was like real zoomed in while I laughed, but
yeah. But truly, I'm not taking a drink of water at all. It's one of those days, I can tell. So watched several episodes back when Em made me spit take like twice. But yeah, it's an experience of being able to get out of the bubble so it doesn't feel as panicky, and also to be an example of like humanity coming out of this place where people are only getting the impression that frankly we're getting too, and we want to try to heal that as much as possible. So if you're looking for a purpose to justify to yourself, being yourself in another country is going to be healing for the world at this point.
For reference too, on that note, since the Cheeto in Chief occurred, I have been to Italy, Egypt, and Iceland, as well as Canada briefly, for like an extended layover.
I was in the UK for a bit too.
Yeah, you were in the UK for a bit too. We have only got people being like, "Are you okay?" Like, and some people will be like, "Oh, Donald Trump," like they'll be like, "You want that?" And we'll be like, "No,
no."
Like, oh, okay. Are you doing all right? Are you all right? You know, like people are concerned. And I think that a lot of times, especially right now, people are like, I don't want to travel. Like they hate Americans. They don't. They're really, really, really worried about us. And they only are hating the ones that they can very actively see that are supporting the terrible stuff. Like humans are still humans, guys. Like we still care about each other. Like this is the root of it. Like if you met someone who was coming right now from Indonesia and all the strife right there, you wouldn't be like mad at them for what their government is doing. You're going to be like, are you all right? Like stuff is going on. Are you okay? And that is the response that's also happening. So if you're afraid, like people are going to think that we're awful. We have not gotten that reception in all of these countries we've been through in the last year. I've not gotten a single reception like that at all when I say that I am American. I will say that I'm from California though. I will say that because I can. So when people are like, where are you from? I'll be like, California. And that is helpful. But you can say that too.
Yeah.
Say you're from California.
Get a California sweatshirt or a t-shirt and just like advertise it before people have to see it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, because I'm terrible at lying, I'm just like, I'm from Virginia, which is really close to that epicenter. And it's just like, yeah, like it's not great, but it's fine.
People are concerned. Like that's the response that we're getting. And it feels really nice. It feels really nice. I think there's a lot of media that comes out in the US saying how the rest of the world doesn't like us and don't travel and they hate Americans and whatever. And like, don't get me wrong, things happening in like Spain and stuff are like very anti-tourist at the moment, but most places are not super anti-tourist. They're super anti-over tourism, which are very different things.
Yep.
Which I could speak about for days because I live in a tourist town and that is like literally the main economy here, and I have a very, very in-depth perspective of tourism in general. And again, anti-over tourism, not inherently anti-tourist, not inherently anti-person. And if you're showing up with respect, honestly, I will say this too. Americans you can pick out in a crowd because they're the ones having fun out loud. And I mean that wholeheartedly. Like we think about it like, oh, you're going to see the ugly Americans because they're dressed whatever, or they're going to be like overweight or, you know, whatever, like, you know, the scene at the beginning of Despicable Me when like the tourist families in Egypt, right? Like that's what you're like thinking. And that's not the case, but we can go through a crowd. Like I think about it like in the Trastevere or whatever in Rome, and you can go through a crowd and be like, those people are Americans because they're loud, they're bringing people in, they're having fun, but not in an aggressive, like mean way. In like we've had tour guides even say we love Americans because they make it so much more fun to be on tour with them. And it's like, thanks.
Yeah.
We try. Like,
we've been really lucky with our guides as well because they've come right into the group and become family with us just as much as everybody else does, and that's always been good. So anyway,
just to try to, you know, if you're having some fears around that, that's our experience. And again, that's coming from a very privileged white place, and we know that. But we also, especially on our trips, we're incredibly inclusive on purpose, especially for LGBTQ. Like, we both are part of that community, so we make sure our trips are very safe that way. But also ethnically very inclusive as much as possible as well, with everything that we can do. So we do our best, obviously, we know that there's privilege there, not saying that there's not, but coming from that perspective, like, do as much space holding as we can possibly do to make everyone safe and comfortable.
And we'll go to bat for you if we have to.
Oh, we will and have. It's great. I love it. Let me confront some people.
Yeah.
I'll tussle. Tussle it up. Anyway, yeah. All this is to say, moral of this episode, 1, don't be afraid of the eclipse. It's coming in. It's going to move some stuff around. It's all right. You'll still be able to move forward. You have survived every eclipse season that's ever happened in your life. This one is the same. And 2, you should watch us on the Alchemist ink spill on Friday.
Come with us. Be there. Chat with us.
Hang
Yes.
with us.
Let the
Fun.
community connect. It's going to be so good.
It's going to be really, really fun. Yeah, please let us know below anyone you want to see, any things you think we should cover on the ink spill, or just whatever emoji you think best represents this episode today, or your vibes today as you're listening to that. And if you could download the episode on any podcast that you're listening, any platform that you're listening to this podcast on, if you could just download it or comment or like, or another thing that would really help us out, if you want to head over to Instagram or TikTok and give us a follow, that would be fantastic. We're the Alchemist Inkwell on both places, so that would be great if you're not already on the YouTube.
Alchemist.inkwell. Yeah.
You'll find it. If you type in the Alchemist Inkwell, we're going to pop up. So that's us. Or you can head to either of our personal social medias and find Alchemist Inkwell stuff on there. It's not hard. So yeah, thank you guys so much for listening. We're going to do this super fun thing where we're recording another episode right after this one. So if you're like, wow, you guys didn't change outfits for 2 weeks. No, we're just doing this back to back.
No, I lived in this. I lived in this every day.
I actually don't even know what the shirt says. I got it in a book
There
box.
is much
like
to do.
promotion stuff. It's really
in
long.
this.
It says many a thing.
There is much to do in this glorious life we were gifted.
Get it?
What a great message for the eclipse.
Look at that. I totally did that on purpose.
You're like a little oracle card.
Aw. Thanks. So are you, literally, actually.
I am a horoscope.
Oh, you're a horoscope.
Yeah. It's Halloween here, obviously. Seriously, though. Oh my God, we would kill it at a Halloween party. I'm doing it. We got to find a way to do this. That'd be great.
You're just going to have, like, signs stuck to your face. But this is a representation of the chart that's currently happening right now.
Yep.
And look, we're having this transit, and this one.
I was going to say, every couple hours I'll have to move the moon and just like... The signs have changed. The ascendant's different.
Just do cartwheels.
I would take that way too. I can't do a cartwheel, so I'll have to learn. I can't whistle either. At least I'm good at astrology, you guys.
Okay. Anyway, happy eclipse season. We hope you take all this energy and that you 2, 3 go make some magic.